Hello. आप लोग please करीब आ जाएं. You can come closer to the bonfire.
Can we also get some fire going to match the inside?
Please आ जाएं आप लोग सब लोग. Rekha, please be seated. Tina. A very good evening to everyone. I, Huma Khalil, Ehsaas Woman of Delhi, am delighted to welcome you all to Kitaab Festival, week-long celebration surrounding books and their authors here in Delhi. This festival is a Prabha Khetan Foundation initiative presented by Shree Cement Limited in association with India International Center. Ehsaas under Prabha Khetan Foundation is an initiative run by women solely and has a representation in 40 cities of India presently. About 4 to 5 Ehsaas women represent each city. The originator of the foundation, late Dr. Prabha Khetan, was a trailblazer in her own right. Born at a time when women were only confined within designated roles of household, Dr. Khetan was a revolutionary character, much ahead of her time. She was a philanthropist, author, poet, entrepreneur, and a campaigner of women's causes. A relentless champion for women's welfare, childcare issues, educational and cultural institutions, and promoter of Indian art and heritage. Dr. Khetan had given shape to Prabha Khetan Foundation, an organization dedicated to social and cultural welfare in the 1980s. Her vision to work for a better tomorrow drives the machinery of the organization and is embodied in her famous words, "Karam hi Jeevan hai," work is life. Almost 4 decades later, the foundation has gone from strength to strength and has launched several initiatives to further the causes that Dr. Khetan had envisaged. We at the foundation promote Indian art, culture, literature, music, and highlight pertinent social causes through all our endeavors. Prabha Khetan Foundation's anthem portrays the true spirit of Indian philosophy, unity in diversity. Here, the poetic genius of Rabindranath Tagore flows into the folk music of Rajasthan. Dadra fuses with Kajri. True to the spirit of the foundation, we promote local artisans when it's time to show appreciations to our patrons and guests by endorsing their products. We encourage all to buy local products to help craftsmen in their sustainability and development. At Prabha Khetan Foundation's events, local food is served to soak in the smell and flavor of the place. To create awareness in the community, we uphold one pressing social issue every month. We use artist Sudipta Kundu's poignant paintings to reach out to our audience and patrons on social media and through our invitations, and try to create mindfulness amongst them. This endeavor is appropriately named as Cause of the Month. This December, we are endorsing human rights. You may have seen the artwork of Sudipta Kundu poignantly depicting the same in our invite. Follow us on our social platforms to know more about this. I have always imagined that paradise will be a kind of library. So says George Louis Borges. And among Prabha Khetan Foundation's several initiatives, creating a heaven for literature is the soul of the organization. We are always more than eager to celebrate the birth of a book, and we rightfully have named such celebrations Kitaab. Through this platform, authors can display and showcase their newest literary works before a discerning audience and media through tastefully curated book launches. Today is the second day of a bookful event, and we have among us the celebrated photographer, Mr. Raghu Rai. He can undoubtedly be called the father of photojournalism in India. During his illustrious career spanning more than half a century, he has won several national and international awards, including Padam Shri in 1972 for his work on Bangladesh War, Photographer of the Year from USA in 1992, Academy de Beaux Arts Photography Award, William Klein in 2019, and Lifetime Achievement Award by the Information and Broadcasting Ministry in 2017. Holding conversation with our esteemed guest is Ms. Ina Puri, Ehsaas Woman of Delhi. Ina is a writer, biographer, art curator and collector. She is the author of several books. Today we are gathered here to launch Raghu's latest book on the Indian film director Satyajit Ray. Now I would request Mr. Raghu Rai and Ms. Eena Puri, they are already on stage, so thank you very much for being here. And Ms. Archana Dalmia, can you please come up on stage and felicitate our guests?
Can I choose the color of my lucky? I prefer warm colors, yeah.
Do you like this? Do you like this?
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Choice is very important.
All about colors.
आपके हाथों में से कुछ भी अच्छा लगेगा.
Thank you, Archana. Thank you so much. Now I would request Ms. Anindita Chatterjee, Executive Trustee, Prabha Khetan Foundation, all the Ehsaas women present here, Neelima, Nidhi, Aradhana, Anantmala, to join us on stage to inaugurate the book.
घूंघट के पट खोल रे तोहे पिया मिलेंगे. Thank you. Another one.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Thank you, everyone. Raghu Rai, the man who has been portraying many moods, seasons, and life around us for around half a century. Whether candid or posed, his pictures reflect the dreams of their subjects for posterity. They conceal as much as they reveal the strength and endurance, the decisions and choices, the state of mind of his subjects, creating a visual story around them. In the words of famous Urdu poet Jigar Muradabadi, तस्वीर के दो रुख हैं, तस्वीर के दो रुख हैं, जां और गमे जाना, तस्वीर के दो रुख हैं, जां और गमे जाना, एक नक्श छुपाना है, एक नक्श दिखाना है. He says, when I take a person's portrait, I am trying to capture the aura of that person. I am trying to get the truth of that person to emerge in the photograph. Again, in Bahadur Shah's words, we can say कि चाहिए उसका तसव्वुर ही से नक्शा खींचना, चाहिए उसका तसव्वुर ही से नक्शा खींचना, देख कर तस्वीर को तस्वीर फिर खींची तो क्या. His eyes spoke everything, so says Raghu Rai about the celebrated filmmaker Satyajit Ray, writer, director, lyricist, music composer, calligrapher who brought the Indian cinema to world recognition. Ray died in 1992, received many national and international awards during his lifetime, and just before his death, he was conferred with the Academy Honorary Award and the Bharat Ratan in 1992. For today's book, all I can say is these photographs remind us of the people we loved and the times we want to go back to. हम आईने में अपने हाल की ताबीर देखेंगे, हम आईने में अपने हाल की ताबीर देखेंगे, तुम्हारे हाथ की खींची हुई तस्वीर देखेंगे.
क्या बात है.
I would now request the panelists, Ina, to please commence the session. Thank you.
Apart from other qualifications, she is a very fast bowler, so please be slow. Oh, let's begin.
Good evening, friends. It's lovely to be seated around the fire, and I'm sure you're warm because I can see some Angitis around. But yes, welcome and good evening. It's absolutely fantastic to be sitting here in conversation with Raghu Rai, whom I've had the pleasure of knowing now for many years.
A century.
For many years. We've also done a book on Kolkata in the past, but this was a very special book. And every story has a backstory. So I was visiting his studio the other day. His youngest daughter, Purvai, is a very fine artist, and I am working with her on a project. So in the process of our conversation, Raghu said, Ina, come right in. I'm just working on some pictures. Come and see what I found. And I went into the studio, and I found Raghu looking at pictures of Ray from Gore Baire. And I said, Raghu, do you know it's his centenary year? It's this year is 100 years of Satyajit Ray. And he said, oh, really?
That was really amazing.
Chalo, hum log, I said,
what a coincidence.
This
yes.
needs to be documented, and we should try and look at, doing a book together. And so that's how Prabha Ketan Foundation came in. Sandeep immediately, Bhutoria immediately agreed to doing this book. And so here we are. Raghu, my thing is that what I find astonishing is that Ray has been on your radar. He has been part of so many other books that you have done, including Kolkata. You've got fabulous shots of Satyajit Ray sprawled on that bed, shooting, and some, disarming, beautiful pictures. But this was the first time that you've actually dedicated an entire book to a shoot that he has.
A small book.
Yes, an intimate book.
Intimate, but lovingly, very lovingly. You see, there have been some magnificent people in our lives, like Mother Teresa, like Dadu Satyajit Ray, and so many others. The other day I was telling a friend, I said, no matter who takes their pictures, Satyajit Ray, Mother Teresa, Pandit Ravi Shankar, these kind of magnificent people, they are going to be good because they have so much energy and expression flowing all the time. And unlike us, they don't have to be proper and controlled and decent or indecent. They are what they are, and what they are is so has been so amazing that it's something very rare that we'll have this kind of magnificent people coming in our lives again. Maybe one day I'll also become, but I don't promise you.
But Raghu, you're calling the book Dadu, which is interesting because in Bengal, Dadu is a grandfather. But in your case, Dadu, this book is just to show this larger than life person.
Yeah. No, because I know, we used to call him Manikda. That's the Bengali expression, and he was known as Manikda with affection. But when I was editing this book, the power, the energy, the eyes this man had. You see, we call somebody a Dada. He's a big guy, Dada. But here is a guy who's bigger than a Dada, so I call him Dadu. So she was baffled. She says, Dadu means grandfather. I said, yes, he was more than a grandfather. So, you see, in photography, I respond to the spirit and the energies that are being transmitted to you. And this is how I take photographs. So from the beginning, and I also must tell you, first time in my life, I photographed Indira Gandhi for years. I photographed Mother Teresa, the loving woman, His Holiness
Dalai Lama.
Dalai Lama, my most loving soul living on this planet. But when I met him for the first time to photograph, I was so conscious that here was somebody who's been a great filmmaker. And the definition of filmmaker we'll discuss.
Yes. Yes.
So I was very conscious and very uneasy for first few minutes before I could settle down doing the things I needed to do.
Which brings me to my next question, is that you have been watching films, you've been an avid, a person who's fond of cinema, who's been, watching Hindi films ever since childhood or boyhood, certainly.
Very few, because my parents won't
not
allow
allow
me
you?
to become a bad boy.
But
In
yet
those
you-
years. Today, children don't ask you.
But you went and, you were familiar with the Hindi film industry.
Yeah.
You certainly also, you got to know about Bengali cinema, and you decided that amongst all these other stars and all these other very, very, they are important creative minds and filmmakers in their own right, that you would focus on Ray, which is what you did. So how come?
Actually, when I was with India Today as a picture editor for 10 long years, so on lean days when there was no big events happening, no big news happening, I'll propose something heart-touching, something meaningful for the cover story. So I proposed that we should do a cover story on Satyajit Ray. So my editorial friend said, oh, everybody's done a story. Everybody knows about him. There's nothing that you can reveal. I said, if it was that simple, that revelations happen by interviewing, by clicking a few pictures, then, we've done everything. We've done it all. I said, the mystery of every individual comes across only once in a while when you make yourself available mentally, physically, spiritually, to feel, to understand, to perceive and receive the person. So this is how I started. But let me go back. When I started taking pictures by chance, don't you point gun at me, you girl. See the way she picked up the camera. So, way back in '65 when I started taking pictures, my elder brother S. Paul, a very grand guy, great photographer. And we used to share lots of things, music, poetry, cinema. And then in those years comes a book, photography book, called Family of Man. Now, Family of Man was like a Bible of documentary creative photography, where almost all the important photographers of the world, their work were there, but related to the family of man, the human relationships, the human energies, and good and bad or whatever. And that book was like something unique for us, Family of Man, created by Edward Steichen. So we got a copy. And going through the pages, I see an Indian subject. I say, wow, भारत देश का भी है इसमें कुछ. तो नीचे नाम पढ़ा तो पता चला सत्यजीत रे. I said, who is this Satyajit Ray? The only photographer from India whose photograph was there. Then we did some research through friends and discovered that he's a great filmmaker. And this is how I started seeing his films. I said, if he can take such a beautiful photograph, it must be from Apur Sansar.
Yes, yeah, I was going to ask you
Yeah,
that.
the mother combing the hair of her son, and the ambience and the expression was so amazing. You say, haan, ye hai mera desh. That kind. So I said, what a man he must be. So this is how I got interested in
Yes.
them. Now, You see, I have been watching films for a long time, but very few selected ones, because I told you initially my parents won't allow us to go to any movie to become a bad boy, of that time. So, watching Bimal Roy,
That's right.
yeah, K. Asif Ali, Mughal-e-Azam, those kind of films. And especially Bimal Roy had given us some great films, And then his son-in-law, Basu Bhattacharya, he created a beautiful film called Tisri Kasam. So all these films one had watched. But when we look at Satyajit Ray's films, now here is something very important, that there are great scripts, great stories, great literature in this world, and filmmakers, they use those special stories and scripts, and their actresses say those lines
Yes.
to make the story come alive. But the fact is that when you say cinema, cinema has its own language.
That's true.
The language of cinema is visual. You see many of Satyajit Ray's sequences, no words are spoken, and every experience has been communicated. So he was a man, I thought, who knew the use of the language of cinema, and not just very important literature or piece of great dialogue, but he could translate it into visual experience, visual language, which was something so unique about him. And even today I can say. Now you see, bulk of the Hindi cinema is full of melodramatic moments after moments after moments to grab your attention. And if you look at Satyajit Ray's films, there's an undercurrent of simplicity, a thread of life, of ordinary dailiness of life, which keeps you the truth about a story, which keeps you bound together because it's honest, it's truthful, and not melodramatic events. And that's why I say bulk of the Hindi cinema is fantastic nonsense.
Which is why when you watched Ray's films, I'm not sure whether there were subtitles then, but the Bangla, it wasn't like, because you didn't understand Bengali, you couldn't understand the flow of events in the making of these scenes.
That's why we had to see his film 4 times, 5 times to connect.
But this book is unique because what you were saying, this whole visual language that you saw is what you captured.
Yeah.
Because this whole, it's a very intimate scene between Shatilekha and Victor Banerjee. Sadly, Satyajit Ray is no more. Shatilekha has passed away earlier this year. Only Victor is, of course, around.
Yeah.
But you brought it alive. You brought those moments alive very, very poignantly.
And also, in this book, though I have spent 1.5, 2 days with him, but I was like a hungry, mad man, grabbing every moment of it, And so I managed to get so many extra moments of his character, of his relationships and everything. And here also you can see his son Sandeep and him standing and admiring a scene, and Mrs. Ray is conducting.
Yes, from the
and
back,
this was something very unique for me. If my wife asks, I'll do this for you, and my daughter says, I'll change this picture, I'll say, just not possible. Where is my wife? Please don't mind. Don't beat me up when we go home. So I was amazed, this genius, he allowed his wife, his son, to come in and create the magic that they were creating.
Raghu, he also allowed you.
Yeah.
The point is, there were other photographers also shooting Ray, including Nimai Ghosh.
Nimai Ghosh, and Tarapada Banerjee. They
Tarapada
produced some
Banerjee.
very good pictures.
Yes.
But then again, I have also produced some pictures, but
You have.
I will not say that we were great photographers because he was a great guy. That's the
So
way I
that's
look
what,
at
the
it.
rapport that you shared with him, that you could call him up and he would give you time.
Yeah, yeah. No, I remember, once, after doing this interview and photographs, and then he asked me, Raghu, what next? I said, Dada, Manikda, can we go to the Ghats? He says, it's getting dark. I said, maybe some light will still be left for us. So we walked along. He was joking with those children on the street and doing all kinds of things. And he was so wonderful. And luckily, out of nothing, we saw one Durga being
Yes, immersion ceremony, yeah. Visarjan.
immersion being done. I was surprised to my luck that nature had this, and this was no season for that,
Yes.
I don't know how it happened. So nature also grants you something extra, but he was so amazing. And also when I met him for the first time, there used to be a contest made for each other by Wills cigarette, made for each other. So I get a call from Calcutta saying that, Mr. Rai, this year's contest made for each other, we'll like you to come to Calcutta and be a part of the judging. So I said, who are the other judges? So they said, Mr. Ram Kinkar and Mr. Satyajit Ray. I said, wow, yes, I'll be there. And so we met at the Grand Hotel, and this grand guy, we shook hands. First thing he told me, Raghu, your photograph of the woman pushing the cart is etched here. I can never forget it. So this was the connection we made in the beginning. And for me, it was something so unique because I thought he was a master of visual experience, the way he was filming and the world of India. And the best part is his canvas his theme was only India. And today people indulge in all kinds of themes and they pick up so much from the West. Even our music, hamara music jo hai, Hindustani music, films may be, of course, the Indian classical music and the folk music. We have beat for every emotion, for every rhythm, for every feeling, for every emotion, different rhythms we have. And they've picked up this beat from the West, which is damn, 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 damn. And they're converting Hindi ganas into the Western beat. They've lost everything.
Yeah, because Raghu, he also directed music. He was a music director.
Yeah, he was.
He was an artist. He was so intensely involved in the making of the film in so many different ways.
And he will laugh at himself. He says, what a silly thing I have done. He was so amazing,
Do you remember his room in his house, Bishop Lefroy Road, where he met people?
Full of books, full of all kinds of drawings and things and awards lying everywhere. But what was surprising, I said, Manikda, I want variation of some kind. So then he gets up, goes and sits on his piano, begins to play music for me. I have been very lucky. I've done a book on great masters of Indian classical music. So I'll go to their homes and I'll make them play the whole rag. Why? Because unless they get into the spirit of rendering the whole rag, I will never be able to get the right kind of expressions and intensity. So I have made them sing for me, and I made them play for me the whole ragas at their homes, one-to-one, and I have done the pictures. And I have had the same privilege with Dadu.
Which you've never really, there hasn't been another occasion where you've been so deeply involved with a filmmaker.
Kyun narazgi hai? Ji.
Isn't that right, Raghu? Because like it was with Ray, I don't think you've had that kind of a rapport with any other filmmaker, though they are friends. You've shot Aparna, you've shot several others.
Yeah,
But,
even Amitabh Bachchan, of Shabana Azmi. But you know, the difference is that meeting Ray was like meeting a reflection of my spirit to be, that I should be somebody like that.
Did he influence
And that
you in any
dedication
way,
is
Raghu?
very important.
But did he influence you in any way, in the way you thought when you were shooting him? Did you ever think that this is the way I want to shoot Ray and
No,
somewhere?
never, no.
Or was it just the way you
No,
felt that it
very
had to be done?
spontaneous.
Yeah.
As I told you in the beginning, I was very conscious, but then after a few minutes, everything became all right, because he was really a magnificent man, and he was laughing like an ordinary person, doing things like an ordinary person, and his loose pajamas, which I thought were very funny.
Raghu, did he see the pictures that you had shot? Did he have a chance? Did
No,
you
no, I haven't shown him any of my pictures. But meanwhile, I was also doing my book on Calcutta. So I was shooting Calcutta, and one day I got bored with myself and my shooting. So I thought, you know, let me speak to Manik Da. So I rang up his number. So he would pick up the phone. So he said, yes. I said, Manik Da, this is Raghu Rai here. He says, oh, Raghu, how have you been? I said, very good. I said, Manik Da, are you there? Are you free? Can I come and see you? He says, oh, Raghu, I've got 2 interviews lined up. It's a busy day. I said, oh, you know, with a jerk, I said, oh, because from my heart, I wanted to be with him. So my jerk, the way I said, oh, he says, oh, was it something important? I said, no, Manikda, I just wanted to be with you. He says, oh, I see, come along. You see, that's the greatness of this guy, because somebody wants to be with him and not for a purpose. And this was something that I valued so much in him. And also, first time when I was with the Statesman newspaper, the national awards were being given in 1972, something like that. So we saw Satyajit Ray, the tall guy, the big guy. Meanwhile, I had seen some of his movies. So we were all, 8, 10 photographers, we were there. We were looking at him like this, you know. This is the guy. So he gets 3 or 4 awards, and he's coming down from the stage carrying these 3, 4 awards. So I thought I must connect with him. I said, Mr. Ray, it seems you're carrying too much weight. I think you need some help. So he had a big smile and he says, not in this case. So that was my first encounter with him. But the second was when we shook hands and he said, your photograph was so amazing.
And then you met him during the making, when you were there as a jury member.
Gaurabai, yeah.
Yeah. Raghu, since then you keep revisiting Calcutta. What is it about the city that draws you again and again? Because it's like a never-ending love affair.
Calcutta has a lot of Satyajit Ray in it, very frankly. You see, not that I will carry a composition or a frame done by Satyajit Ray, or for that matter, any other great photographer. Because in creativity, they say being here and now. In Zen Buddhism, being here and now. When I'm being here and now, so I am looking at all of you and your energies and your expressions, and I'm connecting with you. So when I'm being here and now, it's from the energies that my heart is receiving. So my mind is shut for that time being. So when your mind is shut, because your mind is the biggest computer that carries so many sights, sounds, ideas, memories, and images. And if your mind is shut, and if you're being here and now and connecting right now, then nobody else exists for you. So this, luckily, this is what photography has taught me, being here and now. So wherever you are, nobody exists, Because the other person in my life was Henri Cartier-Bresson, the great filmmaker. And I remember, Bresson telling us that those of you, if you haven't seen Jalsaghar, then you haven't seen cinema. That's visual poetry.
Begum Akhtar singing over there, Jalsaghar, the music
Yeah,
room.
that was a visual poetry.
Yes.
And Kurosawa?
Yes.
Kurosawa, I believe, said that if you haven't seen rays, then you haven't seen sunshine. Can you imagine the guy that he was?
Which still continues, I hope. I mean, this is his centenary year, and so here we are celebrating Ray in our own ways, so many different ways. But we haven't forgotten him. You haven't certainly forgotten him. You're still in your studio looking at those images that you had clicked so many years
Because
ago.
he brings a smile to begin with, and a charge, and a challenge
Yes.
to look at me and my work all over again. What the hell? What do you think you are doing? Because he's smiling at you. So that's the energy and magic he's left for us.
Yes. Because Calcutta at that point, there was Ritik Ghatak, there was Mrinal Sen, Topun Sinha was also around.
May I say something? Now, you see, once we were in Chandigarh, the film festival and art festival, and there were some supporters of Ritik Ghatak. I think it was not Manikal, but Sahni,
Kumar Shahani.
Kumar Shahani and other people. They were talking about Ritik Ghatak and everything. So I got up. I said, listen, let me tell you very honestly, I've seen Ritik Ghatak's films. I've seen Ray's films. Both were geniuses. But Ritik Ghatak went astray. He didn't have the discipline to deliver. And Satyajit Ray, he delivered with magnificence and sensitivity. Because, it's like a musician singing a rag, and somewhere he's become so bisura, and in moments his energy and his rhythm is magical, and the next moment he drops you down. Ray never dropped you down through his 3 hours or 2.5 hours of, watching his film. That's why, there have been so many other directors, at that time, like Sham Benegal, Mrinal Sen. In fact, I remember, somebody took me when I was in Calcutta to see Khandar, done by Mrinal Sen. And the same evening, at the Grand Hotel, I bumped into Mrinal and somebody introduced me, and he said, we've just seen your film today. So there was question in his eyes, how did you like it? And how I wanted to tell him that it was bloody amateurish. Because the difference is to have an idea, to have a vision is something else. And trying to be different and stylish is very amateurish for me. And he used this language with total sensitivity and responsibility,
But have you been keeping abreast of the present filmmakers in Bengal? Is there anyone that you like?
No, not really.
And amongst Ray's film, is there any favorite film of his that you like?
Jalsaghar, the poetry of visual art. Paucher Panchali, great cinema for me forever.
Yes.
I've seen it, I don't know how many times, even the few weeks back again I was,
Ravi Shankar.
and Ravi Shankar's music, how he depicts raindrops falling on that,
And also the pathos, the sadness that comes alive through the strains of the sitar.
Because his characters used to be so true to the right kind of emotions, not exaggerated nonsense that Hindi cinema does most of the time.
And of course, iconic shots of his that remain in our consciousness, like the Charulata shot of Madhubi with the, she's holding those glasses and looking out of the window.
Yeah.
It's iconic. It's something that we'll remember, I suppose, forever, as long as there's cinema.
Absolutely.
So I was wondering, are there any questions that you would like to ask? Anyone? Any questions?
I
Debashish?
think it's too cold, and
Yeah, Nilima.
इनको माइक देंगे जरा.
Yeah, here.
Thank you for this absolutely fascinating journey,
Thank you.
Mr. Rai. My question to you is that somebody who has been so richly experienced with all the masters of cinema and behind and in front of the camera, which will you say is your life-defining moment?
Very well. Even sometimes when I look at the nature, and it carries another kind of energy which I've never experienced,
Yes.
is a life-defining moment for me. I'm sorry, that's the way I live it.
No, spoken in the words of a true artist. Thank you.
Yes. Because you cannot pinpoint and give a credit to one individual, to one person. Some people tell me, oh, we consider you to be our guru in photography. I said, that's your choice. Because I think each one of us, if we learn to look into ourselves, our guru is sitting inside us. When after day's work, after you've had a nice meal or you got drunk or whatever, when you put your head on your pillow and you want to go to sleep, that guy turns up. That other guy in you turns up and he says, hey, साले क्या किया तूने आज? और तुम कहते हो यार मैंने इतनी अच्छी तस्वीर तो बनाई थी, अच्छी नहीं थी. तो वो कहता है जो था वहां इतना था और तुमने इतना बनाया. इसी मापदंड वो ही है जो तुम्हारे अंदर बैठ के तुम्ही से पूछता है कि कौन हो तुम और कितना किया. Only if we listen to that guy, he's the real guru. That's why I don't accept the fact I don't have guru. I have people, I have individuals who transformed my moments in different stages of my life. I have people whom I admire, and at times I feel like eating them because they are so delicious. But every situation can ignite a magic in you.
Who is the dream subject that you have that you'd still like to make a book on?
I
And
wish
you haven't,
I had photographed you 20 years ago. No, you see, my dream, when the reality begins to touch you in a very refreshing way, which you've never thought, which you've never experienced before, is your dream. Wow, it's coming alive right now. It's almost related to what I said earlier. The dreams come into reality when the intuitive self begins to receive things. Those are the dreams taking a physical shape for me. Ji.
Good strong voice. Yeah.
देख हम पुराने दोस्त हैं बदमाशी मत करना.
Janab, I was about to say something like, I know you for longer than your wife knows you, but that's not a great thing to show off about, but it's true. So Janab, yes, I had a different question. I'm not going to ask you a question about what does it take to be a great photographer like you. You're not going to give away all the secrets, but
I don't have any.
okay.
Seriously.
So about Mr. Ray, I haven't seen all his movies, and that's all right. But I was told, and I got the feeling that most of his movies were about the poverty and the penury and the famine and hunger and deprivation. Is that a fact? Because I haven't seen all of them, but I get that impression. Would that be true?
No, not really. You see, if you do photograph poverty for the sake of poverty and misery in people's life, then it's shameful. But through those ordinary people's daily lives, he was giving another kind of message, that matters, please. And especially when we say, Sonar Killa is so much fun. There is nothing, not a moment of poverty or anything about it. And the one for which I sing songs, Jalsa Ghar, has got nothing to do with poverty, But the difference is that he was not focusing on poverty to encash on that. It wasn't that. This is the difference, But the fact remains, Bharat Desh, poverty, especially Bengal mein agar jaएं, Bengalis are such sentimental and caring people in so many ways कि कोई गांव से चला आए तुम्हारे घर के आगे अगर वहाँ पे बिस्तर लगा दे तो बंगाली लोग जो उसे कहेंगे अरे यार हमारे लिए भी थोड़ी जगह छोड़ दो हमने गेट में से निकलना भी होता है तो वहाँ तो उस ज़माने में तो 70s 60s 70s में तो I mean people were sleeping even today they sleep in the streets even in Delhi under the bridges we have this आप क्या सोच रहे हैं नया भारत आया है तो सब चला गया है क्या वो Thank you.
This was such a captivating session. I think the audience is quite engrossed. And if anyone wants to ask some question, please, or any of the youngster, if any of you want to ask any question, please go ahead. It's quite an intimate session, so I think
one more question.
Raghu would be
Jatin
happy.
Jatin has a question.
Yes, let me just pass on
रघु जी कुंभ मेले के बारे में बताइए
किसके बारे में
कुंभ के मेले जो आपने कवर किए
कुंभ के मेले में वाह 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 क्या बात है कुंभ जो है वो सिर्फ भारत देश में ही हो सकता है पहली बात तो ये है क्योंकि भारत देश हम अच्छा हो बुरा हो हम उसी को कहते हैं कि भाई तू ही है जो भी है अच्छा दे रहा है तू दे रहा है बुरा दे रहा है तू दे रहा है This is a very unfortunate thing in our country. माफ कीजिएगा. And millions of them. I have been to 3 kumbhs, 4 kumbhs. It's an experience of total amazement. It's a breathtaking experience. Ordinary people from the villages, हाँ एक दूसरे की सारी कपल्ला पकड़ के चले जा रहे हैं आंखें नीचे हैं और संगम की तरफ जा रहे हैं कि वहाँ पे बस एक उनका जो डिप लेंगे और वो उनमें पवित्रता आएगी और वो घर आएंगे और खुशहाली आ जाएगी आज भी भारत आधे से ज़्यादा ऐसा ही चलता है These politicians are lucky that in the name of religion and faith they can get away with so much. पहली सरकारें भी ऐसा करती थी अब की सरकार थोड़ा ज़्यादा करती है ये धर्म कर्म की बातें देखिए सच्ची बात ये है कमाल की बात ये है कि पिछले दिनों 19th of August is a International Photography Day. So some friends asked me that you need to give a talk and you have to give us some new experience, new understanding. So मैंने सोचा ठीक है और ऐसा है because of pandemic you've been locked inside, you can't go out, you can't meet people and at my age my wife thought my life was at risk if I walk out so I was imprisoned. Not completely but quite a bit of me was really because I'm an outdoor mad guy. I can't stay at one place. So I started Netflix पे जाके वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 देख लो, वर्ल्ड वॉर 1 देख लो, आप लेनिन स्टालिन देख लो, आप जॉन एफ कैनेडी देख लो, आप क्यूबा का जो था
Fidel Castro.
कास्ट्रो देख लो, सब देखा। फिर हमने सोचा यार कि हम हिंदू घर में पैदा हुए हैं, कुछ हिंदुज़म का भी जाने, तो महादेव देखा। तो नेटफ्लिक्स के फ़ायदा ये है कि यू कैन फास्ट फॉरवर्ड द एंटरटेनमेंट पार्ट, द रबिश पार्ट। एंड हिज utterances वर अमेजिंग। एंड देन हमने कहा महाभारत देखें, महाभारत देखा। तो मुझे क्रिएटिविटी में बेस्ट एक्सप्रेशन मिला महादेव से और श्री कृष्ण वासुदेव से। और उनका ये श्री कृष्ण वासुदेव गीता में कहते हैं बालको कि जो धर्म नियमों में बंधा है, असूलों में बंधा है, वो गुलामी है, उसको तोड़ो, क्योंकि उसमें करुणा नहीं है। आई होप यू कैन फॉलो इट। जो धर्म दिल से नहीं उपजता वो धर्म नहीं है। आए है, उसमें करुणा है। अब देखिए आजकल कॉन्सेप्चुअल आर्टिस्ट के लिए ठीक है, जतिन नहीं तो बाद में मेरे से गुस्सा कर देगा। आर्टिस्ट डू कॉन्सेप्चुअल एंड दे टेक इट बियॉन्ड, बिकॉज they can mix and match so many other similar experiences and enrich their canvas. If photographer begins to follow the artist, which photography has been doing in initial years, the impact of artists, painting, especially landscape and portraiture, photographers in 1850s, 60s, 70s, and Maharaja Deen Dayal and all these people, they followed the style of painting, doing portraits. That is okay. But nowadays people are doing conceptual photography. Now conceptual photography, you have to have an idea to make a concept, and the idea is born where? Here in 5 inch of space. And the world out there is so large and ever changing and ever challenging. So when you begin to do photographs, we have friends who are fairly well known and they say, भाई मैं तो तस्वीर सोचता हूँ और फिर खींचता हूँ, मैं उसको पाप मानता हूँ, क्योंकि सोच में भेजे में बहुत कुछ और भी छुपा है, उसमें कंटेमिनेशन जो होती है उसका कोई हिसाब नहीं है। तो फिर क्या बचा कि मैंने क्या किया, मैंने अपना दिल, अपना जो कैमरा था उसके पीछे अपना दिल खोल के लगा दिया कि मेरा कैमरा जो है वो दिल से रिसीव करे। तो मेरे लिए वो अच्छी तस्वीर है जो इंस्टिंक्टिवली, इंट्यूटिवली तुम्हें नेचर प्रदान करती है और तुम्हारा दिल जो है रिसीव करता है। तो जो श्री कृष्ण वासुदेव ने महाभारत में कहा वो मेरे लिए पूर्ण सत्य था कि जो धर्म दिल से उपजता है वो अति उत्तम है, जो तस्वीर दिल से उपजती है वो ही क्रिएटिविटी है, बाकी सब माइंड की प्रोडक्ट्स हैं। दिस इज द वे आई हैव लर्नड।
We are wrapping up now, I think. So,
Mr. Jatin Das, I think you want to ask something.
Oh
Please say.
God!
No questions. Just to add up to your experience with Ray,
जी,
I also knew him in the early 60s, and I was having an exhibition of my painting at the Gallery Kemold in the Park Street in 1965. And he would, every 2 days, will pick up a newspaper from the footpath and bring it to me, to the gallery. And once he told me that he has made a documentary on Binod Bihari Mukherjee, and I happened to be in Calcutta. He said, why don't you call some of your friends and come and see, because Binod Bihari Mukherjee was a great artist.
the inner eye.
Yeah? Sorry?
The inner eye.
Yeah. So that was his teacher in Shantiniketan. So we went to see that one afternoon, And then he put his hand around me and said, "What do you think of the film?" So that's it. And we've had many other private meetings. And it's lovely. It's a great man. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so very much.
That's lovely. And एक मेरा सवाल है आपसे. What do you think of the mobile pictures, like pictures taken by mobile phones? Can they be as good enough as
If you are good enough and sensitive enough, even your cell phone pictures will be good enough.
And what do you think of the selfies?
Selfie is a self-love.
That's
And it's
so
a
true.
horrible thing that most people keep doing.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
They-
everybody knows self-love is a horrible thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But nevertheless, having said that, I am coming out with a book called Thyself. Because over the years, in 50 years, whenever I'm taking pictures, sometimes I see this guy in reflections. I can't avoid him. Early in the morning, when I wake up to do the right pictures or landscape, and the sun is coming from behind, and I see this guy's long shadows falling on the landscape. So I said, yeah, I can't get rid of this guy. So I have been taking pictures where I couldn't avoid this guy, but I'll be doing a book also on this guy in various this thing, but not like me myself, not like that.
That's great. The photography takes an instant out of time, altering life by holding it still. And the whole point of taking a picture is that so that you don't have to explain things in words, and let the pictures do all the talking. So here we come to the end of this evening. And on behalf of Prabha Khetan Foundation, I, Huma Khalil, Ehsaas Woman of Delhi, thank Mr. Raghu Rai, Ms. Ina Puri for such an engaging session. I would also like to show my gratitude towards our presenter, Shri Cement Limited and Associate India International Center. Last but not the least, I thank the audience for being a part of this endeavor. Without your support this evening, it would not have been this great. With this note, I conclude today's program. Stay well, stay safe, everybody. Good night and Shab Bakhair.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Wonderful.
The books are available here at a special discount. If anybody wants to buy them, please. They are right on the
It's not
on the
a
table.
discount. It's just a gesture of few hundred rupees they are
it's-
charging.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah. Thank you.